So we're going through Danny's removal package here. 3 copies of Hero's Downfall, 4 Upside Charms. We can roll the 4 Thoughtseize in there. 3 Bile Blights, a Murderous Cut, an Utter End, an Ugin, and 2 copies of End Hostilities. That's going to be a lot for Robert to get through.
Well, Noah's Mystic is where things will begin. Sandsep Citadel here for Jessup. Again, for Berni, Grand Prix Phoenix champion, Austin native. One of his last tournaments here in the States. He's moving to Philippines in a couple of weeks, so he's trying to make the most of it here, as he does come across for 1 play of Force and pass the turn back. Jessup, number 7 on our Season 1 leaderboard. 2nd place at our Season 4 Invitational in Seattle. Lost in the finals to Dylan Donegan. Here's the Thoughtseize. You see the hand. There's Nugan, Whisperwood Elemental, Eidolon of Blossoms, and a Mountain. I think I know what he's taking.
And this has typically been a very powerful card, Thoughtseize.
2 Eidolons. Never mind. Take it back. They were a little stuck together there. I was going to say Eidolon's a pretty easy choice, but now things are a little bit different.
Well, I still think he ends up taking an Eidolon out of his hand, assuming that he has one of his many answers for the Whisperwood Elemental in hand. Don't want the card advantage engine getting online here for Robert, as that's a way for him to keep up in the face of all of Danny's removal. And with a second Thoughtseize, certainly becomes a lot more attractive to just strip the 2 Eidolons out of hand.
Makes it pretty easy then. So Jessup is down to 14 already. Courser of Krufix the draw. It's a pretty important one, I think, there for Berni. He's going to play the Courser. I like not playing the land, hoping to hit here. He does not do that. Misses out on a point of damage, too, but I think actually finding the land there is way more important.
Yeah, with Ugin in hand, I would say, place a priority on making your land drops.
Jessup will draw. Courser of Krufix. Has a Windswept Heath in hand as well. There's the Heath, and just a pass. I'm not going to play his Courser. Take a look. Sylvan Caryatid on top. Time for some attackers. Jessup down to 11. Follow-up. Voyaging Satyr. Pass the turn back. Let's see what Danny's up to here. Does have an Obzon Charm in his hand. Not willing to play anything, though.
Very interesting.
Gotta sacrifice the Windswept Heath here.
I mean, I sort of get the, I sort of understand saying, you know, I can't afford to go and take 2 here. I also can understand wanting to leave the Abzan Charm in hand to be able to handle the Whisperwood Elemental that could be coming next turn. But that was a really rough tempo swing there. Danny doing nothing on the 3rd turn, already under the gun, and having taken a lot of damage off of his lands.
And nothing with the way he wanted it to that turn.
Yeah.
It's weird to say that Berni wouldn't cooperate, but also his deck just didn't cooperate. So as a result, Danny looks a little foolish on that turn. He does get to play a Courser here and gain a life. So it goes up to 11, and Siege Rhinos the draw step next turn. That might be good enough. There's a Temple of Abandon. Fortunately for Jessup, that land comes into play tapped. However, Berni does have access to 5 mana, so Wishwood Elemental is going to be coming here. Trigger. Take a look at the top card, a copy of Pelucranos. Be surprised if Robert moves that to the bottom, especially with Whisperwood coming.
Yeah. I was about to say, maybe he really wants to hunt for lands, but this is the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Manifest Pelucranos. It's a surprise. That could be anything.
Who knows? But a small synergy there did inform Robert Scry. Now he's got a Pelucranos down there.
Yep. Siege Rhino the draw. Obzon Charm on top of the deck. Jessup going to give it some thought. Does have a Temple of Silence. He can gain a life, go up to 12 thanks to the Courser. Has that Siege Rhino in his hand that can kind of try to play the role of roadblock. First things first here is a Scry action off the Temple.
Now Abzan Charm feels a little slow to me in this spot. And Danny making the same conclusion.
Hero's Downfall, similarly effective. Might be the better card, though.
And does he need to just commit a turn to using a removal spell? I don't know how much work Siege Rhino really does on this board, since Robert does have the option of unmorphing a Pelucranos next turn.
Yeah, I think that's the tough spot that Jessup's in here, is that he knows what the manifested creature is, but it still makes it really tough. He's going to go with the Rhino, though. Maybe the 3 life is what's important.
Yep. It's also all of his mana, and again, he's just trying to get into some more efficient turns where maybe he can chain together Obstinate Charm plus Hero's Downfall in one shot.
Yeah. Caryatid's the card on top of the deck here for Berni. The nice thing about Wishwood Elemental is when that kind of card's on top of your deck, to get to turn that face down and just keep moving forward accordingly.
Yep.
That's really, really nice. This card's a doozy. Just took a time to find a home. This might be it. That might be the card that puts us back on the map.
Seems like a very nice play to just ramp into even when you don't have Nykthos.
Yeah.
Just something powerful to play on turn 4, turn 3 with some of your most explosive draws.
Here comes a manifest creature.
Could be anything.
Yes. It is a 2/2. Colorless. Synergy with Ugin. Which Robert has in his hand. Deck building at its finest. Looks like Jessup's on the double block here. And he wants to take a look at Whisperwood Elemental. Probably reading that second line of text. Sacrifice Whisperwood Elemental until end of turn. Face up non-token creatures you control gain when this creature dies. Manifest the top card of your library. A little confusing, so that's why you see Danny probably read it. And now there's your double block.
Face up non-token is not the cleanest thing.
It's a little tough.
Fortunately, face up non-token describes the overwhelming majority of Magic creatures.
Yes.
So it's most stuff.
Ugin also on Morph. It'll eat the Rhino. So Jessup gets himself out of that situation.
Two-headed giant and legacy. Your pairings are posted.
Any follow-ups to be had here for Berni. Just to Caryatid. Trigger. Turn it down. Top card. Ugh. Genesis Hydra is filthy. That'll be next turn, though. Jessup will draw a card. Windswept Teeth on top of the deck. Hero's Downfall added to the hand.
On tap land number 6 here is really big as it allows Danny access to either 2 of his 3 mana spells, of which he has 3 in hand, or his Elspeth.
We know when Abzan gets in that territory, 6 mana, 2 spell territory, it's tough to beat. There's Boblight. That's not bad either. See how Jessup wants to navigate here.
I don't know if there's a lot to be done with Elspeth in this spot.
Doesn't seem great, right? Just seems, it only feels okay to me. I don't love what I see here.
Maybe better served just getting the Elemental off the table and setting up Elspeth for next turn. I mean, particularly with Genesis Hydra on top of the deck for Robert, you don't necessarily know what that can offer up on his side of the table. If you play Elspeth and plus it, your Elspeth might die, and then you just have a couple removal spells in hand playing against a huge board.
So Teeth will search about planes. Life total won't change there, thanks to Courser being in play. Let's see what the top card is now. Temple of Malady. So is it a 2-spell turn, or is it an Elspeth turn? That is the question. It's an Elspeth turn. Sun's Champion's going to make some soldiers. Shields are completely down here for Robert. Elvish Mystic, the top card. I was going to say, if that top card is Nykthos, things get real scary. Fortunately, for Jessup, it was not.
Also bear in mind, Robert has access to Ugin in hand. He's getting close to being able to cast it too.
Yeah, if there had been an untapped land there, for example, it would have been really good. Ugin could have come down, but instead it's just an Elvish Mystic. Now Berni's got to figure something else out.
You could potentially see Ugin and then activate for 0, get the tokens out of the way, and possibly take care of Elspeth.
Yeah. Instead, he's going to have to work for it a little bit.
I don't know if Robert's hit with a courser yet either. He's been kind of running cold on those.
Not a ton of lands in his deck, 23, but he has been running a little bit cold in those regards. There's Courser. Manifest the Elvish Mystic. Top card. Okay. Raider's Claws. Boy, Jessup better hope he never finds a
Nick goes, oh my God, I was saying the same thing.
Or this becomes a complete disaster. Temple. Gonna come in. Windswept Heath gonna go to the bottom. Gains a little life, does Danny. Courser on top of the deck now. Nykthos right now would generate 9 green mana if Berni's able to find one. Jessup organizing his mana, trying to figure out what spells to play and what order to play him in. There's Read the Bone, so he wants more cards. Well, there's Courser. Don't get to see the other card while he's scrying. But Berni will see the cards that he draws.
Yeah, Courser's got some fidgety operations. You don't see everything when it's being scried, but when things are being drawn, you see them as they're coming off.
So Courser's going to go to the bottom, so we're going to show this card, which is another Elspeth. Jessup wants one of those, and an Ugin. Now the top card is a Bile Blight. Things are getting mighty interesting now.
Well, I still worry about Danny's ability to swallow one hit here in the event that all the tokens get swept up. Between what he has in play and the one Creator's Clause, even Ugin may not catch him up.
Well, Danny's hoping no untapped land comes. Now, he's got 3 mana at the rate to cast Hero's Downfall or Avzon Charm. And Berni can just simply do this, which is unmorph a mana accelerant. That's what he's going to do. So Caryata's going to get unmorphed. He could also unmorph Elvish Mystic if he wants to. It looks like he's not going to.
He doesn't need it for the mana. I think he wants to keep that in play so Ugin doesn't kill it.
Sure. No land on top of the deck. It's just an Elvish Mystic. Creator's Clause was the draw. Berni's hand, very powerful, very expensive. Creator's Clause, Genesis Hydra, Ugin.
And can he set up a big Whisperwood Elemental turn here? Where he sacks Ugin Exiles. So.
Yeah, Ugin Exiles.
Yeah.
Easy.
I was about to say, oh.
You're getting really excited.
Yeah. Protection against Danny's Ugin and all that, but no. Exile ruins our shenanigans yet again.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going reaching for Ugin now. Yes, sir. Now how to use it is the question. It seems like we're in -0 territory.
It's definitely the easiest place to start. I think that Robert's aware he's probably only getting one use out of this, though.
Yeah, due to Hero's Downfall.
Possibly outer end as well.
Yeah, Jessup is just gripping a Hero's Downfall in his hand right now. Yep, just for 0. All the soldier tokens out of the way. And Berni can make an attack in such a fashion that he can actually kill Elspeth here.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly a play that is on the table. He just attacks everything into it.
But if you're worried about downfall and you already know that Danny has Ugin in hand, is that play okay? So what ends up happening here is you attack with everything. Danny probably blocks the manifest token. You lose your Elspeth. Your Ugin dies. Untaps. He Ugins you back.
He wants to protect his Elspeth. Okay. So Abzan Charm is going to take care of that. Elspeth's going to go down to 2. The manifest creature was a Elvish Mystic, so that's gone. Now there's an active Ugin out there, but Jessup's happy with how this went. So he'll draw Bile Blight, top cards, Caves of Koilos. Important that's an untapped land. Because all Danny had in his hand was a Temple. So the Caves is going to come in. That's going to trigger the Courser. He'll gain a life. He's up to 16. We'll see the top card in a moment, but Ugin is now on the table here for Jessup to cast if he wants to.
Well, I don't know if he wants to play Ugin into the face of Robert's Ugin. He may want to wait for the board to be completely clean. Because Danny can plus Elspeth again, and on the board, Robert can't make it really any headway. And then the next turn, Ugin does a ton of work.
Oh, Elspeth's going to go up. Downfall will take care of Ugin. Jessup will just pass the turn back. Bile Blight, the one card that he can cast, as Berni will draw. Top card. Wooded Foothill, still no Nykthos. Foothill's going to come in. Freighter's Claws on top of the deck. Berni going to gain a little bit of life there. Well, this turn alone to get Freighter's Claws for 8.
But he knows, you know, if that's his whole turn, then Ugin from Danny next turn is going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah.
It's Robert's whole board.
And even a card like Genesis Hydra isn't great in this situation. That's just something else that Ugin gets to clean up.
Exactly. And now Robert's in this really tough squeeze because as the board is right now, he's not winning because Elspeth's better than what he's got going on. And anything he adds to his board to try to get past Elspeth plays right into Ugin. It's very hard to fight through both of those angles of attack.
Oh, there's a Forest. Means we'll see a new top card there from Berni's deck in just a moment. Just a Forest. There's 5 mana. 9 mana. Perhaps a Hydra. Yep. So that's a 7 here. Nothing all that great there. Ugin cost 8, unfortunately.
And Eidolon is not shabby,
Yeah.
but yes, this is more of the same squeeze that Robert was in before, which is what you're playing against the Ugin. At least game 1 here, I don't think there's a good plan.
Doesn't feel that way. The draw's a Forest. Foothills on top. You know, we've mentioned a couple times, we were surprised in DC how much people were playing Ugin. And while that has dialed back a little bit here, we're still finding these mid-range decks and these devotion strategies with access to 1 or 2, and it has mattered basically every time.
It's basically in these Absalom lists replace the one slot that we sometimes saw with Dune Blast. And Ugin is similar in a lot of respects, but probably much more powerful overall.
Yeah. Utter End on top of the deck here. There's the big fella. The Spirit Dagron. I think it might be here to clear away a whole bunch of stuff. We'll see if the elevator's going up or down here in just a moment. Oh, it's going down.
Like it.
That'll be for 4. And there goes Berni's entire board, and likely his chances of winning as well. As now Elspeth's going to go up. 3 soldier tokens will join the party yet again. And now this green red devotion deck, part of the reason it's so good is once it has a bunch of stuff on the board, doesn't have anything now.
It's really compelling to watch Danny win a game one in this commanding of a position without end hostilities being involved.
Yeah.
I would have assumed that was the card that was required.
Yeah, I think he did a really nice job of navigating this game. You know, the weird turn that we saw where he left the Bob's on charm, he didn't play Courser, you at least understood what he was trying to accomplish.
He's trying to fight over specific cards.
Yep.
And those are basically just the big creatures that Robert brings to the table. All the other little stuff that's going on there doesn't really matter all that much.
And while that turn didn't go well for him, he wasn't punished too badly by it. And I think that's the kind of turn that you look at on that particular turn and you say, well, what the heck is he doing? You know, why wouldn't he just play his Courser? You know, why is he leaving with Bob's on charm? You kind of peel the layers back a little bit, it makes more sense. And he was able to recover perfectly fine, even though he took that turn off.
Yep. And now you look at it, you know, he's got a cut on top of his deck and Utter End and Bioblight still in hand. I mean,
he's got the virtual check mark here. He's going to Bioblight away Elvishman just because he wants to stop Berni from actually ramping into anything. One of the few ways he can probably lose this game is if Berni were able to go, you know, I have a 7th land in my hand, I drew Ugin, cast it.
right.
So he just closed that window. At least for now. Berni will take a draw step. Looks like it was Whisperwood Elemental. He'll play that. But Jessup is staring at a copy of Utter End. He's going to cast that before the trigger happens.
Round 3 is being
So that'll be
posted on
exiled.
the pairings board. Round 3.
Berni going to untap. Excuse me, Jessup going to untap. He'll draw his Murderous Cut. Read the bones on top of the deck. It's a healthy attack here. 8 points of damage. Elspeth goes up. Berni will take a draw step. There's the Ugin.
But I think a mana short and not getting another turn.
Well played game by Danny Jessup. He wins game number 1 here over Robert Berni as Obs on mid-range is up a game over Green Red Devotion. He's number 7 on our Open Series leaderboard for a reason. I know he's not the biggest name that we have on the Open Series from week to week, but the kid just keeps winning.
Yeah, it definitely identified that game that, you know, Robert's deck is all about some big payoffs, and he can concede some early tempo to make sure that his specific removal spells line up against the threats that he needs to take care of from Robert's side, and was able to do just that. Robert had a lot of mana, but everything threatening that he did, Danny was able to bat away, and Robert was left with a bunch of mana creatures that got swept away by the Nugan activation.
We're going to the sideboard here. We'll take a look at Berni's first. 3 Nissa Worldwaker, 3 Nylea's Disciple, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Cetessan Tactics, 2 Arbor Colossus. He's then goes God of Revels, and then 2 copies of Genesis Hydra. What do we like and why?
The additional copies of Genesis Hydra, because I think the game is likely to go very long. It's helpful in that sort of game. I like the 3 copies of Nissa in this matchup as well, as it's just something good in an attrition battle, and it's specifically good against Ugin, which is a card that Robert probably wants a little more play against. Not a big fan of Xenagos in this matchup, as there's a lot of Courser Crewfix type effects, maybe Drown in Sorrow as well. Not very effective against Obzon historically. Maybe the Arbor Colossus has come in.
On Jessup's side, what do we see for the Obzon player?
3 copies of Drown in Sorrow, 2 Glare of Heresy, 2 copies of Read the Bones, an Utter End, a Tassiger, a Murderous Cut, a Garrick Apex Predator, an Erase, a Bioblight, an Ajani Mentor of Heroes, and a Nissa Worldwaker. I like bringing in the Bioblight, the Murderous Cut, the Garrick, the Utter End, the 2 copies of Read the Bones, and the 3 Drown Sorrows. Some sweepers, a couple more removal spells, and a powerful top end in Garrick. I'm not a huge fan of Nissa or Ajani in this matchup because I think they're pretty low impact, and Robert's deck is reasonably effective at attacking Planeswalkers between Crater's Claws and just the number of creatures he gets to put into play. So I think that he wants to only bring in the most powerful Planeswalkers, and Garrick cranking out Death Touch tokens or just killing various things as they show up, I think is good enough to bring in, even though Robert may be able to attack it and kill it on certain boards.
The most notable performance for Danny Jessup on his Open Series career, certainly his runner-up finish at the Season 4 Invitational. He lost to Dylan Donegan in the finals. And that's why you see this right here. Donegan's fantastic elemental token that he had done by Kristen Pleskow, excuse me. She's fantastic at drawing these things for everybody. You win one of these by winning Invitational, but how you get them, well, that's different.
Well, anyone who attends at one of the 20K Open Series, like the one that's going on right now in Houston, gets one of them. Anyone who plays in the 5K Premier IQ, or anyone who orders from StarCGames.com for an online order in excess of $5 will receive one of these tokens. But it's limited time only, so if you want to get access to this token, make sure to either show up to one of our large events or place an order from StarCGames.com today.
I imagine we'll be seeing Dylan at the Season 1 Invitational. We'll probably be seeing Danny too. No, we won't be seeing Robert. He'll be in the Philippines at that point. But Jessup is looking to scale the leaderboard here. Wants to qualify for the Players' Championship. He was the odd man out last year. The first person to miss as far as at-large bids are concerned. Lost the finals of the Season 4 Invitational to qualify to Donegan. So it was obviously a healthy and productive 2014 for Danny, but he didn't accomplish what he wanted to.
No, fell just a little bit short, but I think that now he really knows what it's going to take to get to the Players' Championship. Probably some events that he skipped last year that he wished he attended. And with his friend Jim doing a lot of traveling, I think we're going to see Danny at a lot of events as well.
And I know that Davis on social media, who is here in attendance, he was looking for someone to go with for this trip as he's making the rounds here in Season 1. And Danny kind of at the last minute said, all right, I'll go.
It's easy to get persuaded when you're traveling with friends.
That's just true. There's Sylvan Carey added an attack for 1. Berni going to try to do what he did last game, which is just ramp up. And Jessup's going to try to take the things he can ramp into. That's why Thoughtseize is so important in this matchup. You take a look at the hand here, Whisperwood Elemental, 2 copies of Voyaging Satyr, and a Genesis Hydra.
And this is a hand that's potentially very susceptible to Drown in Sorrow as well. Don't know if Danny has it, don't even know if Danny brought it in. But he's going to leave Robert here with a lot of mana creatures.
There's a Temple. That might get him closer to Drown in Sorrow. Left that card on top real quick. Berni will take a draw step, Crater's Claws. The tough thing for this green red devotion deck, and most mana ramp decks that are based around creatures, is you're almost forced to just say, all right, play them all. Hope you don't have the Pyroclasm or Drown in Sorrow-esque effect.
They're not getting any better. And Robert's last card left in hand is Genesis Hydra, which really forces his hand. He wants to put as much mana on the table as possible. Here we are, and Danny left Drown in Sorrow on top.
Well, he didn't leave it on top, man. You saw Berni already reaching for his creatures to put him in the graveyard, but they're going to stay in play. The draw is a Temple of Abandon.
Danny kept on top so fast because that was a white source of mana, a Temple of Silence, and he's on no white mana right now. But now he has lands number 4 and 5 that enable the end of hostilities in his hand as well.
Let's take a look at a couple cards, shall we? Genesis Hydra. That nets a Pelucranos. That's pretty good.
But this is playing right into Danny's hands.
I don't know if Robert's going to be able to pressure him enough. Now, he does have a Crater's Claws as his last card in his hand. And as we've said many times while watching Robert play this deck, if he's able to turn over and Nykthos, life is really good, especially next turn. Now he's got to think, and I actually think the card that he's looking at is Nykthos. And he's going to leave it on top. Pass a turn back. Jessup will draw. It's a Plains top card, Sandstep Citadel. Citadel going to come in. Jessup up to 18. Bile Blight on top.
Now, what makes this position so good for Danny is he can just hold End Hostilities in his hand here and cast it on the 5th turn and clean up everything. If Robert does something crazy this turn, he can at least Hero's Downfall one of the creatures and survive to the next turn to, again, get an opportunity to cast End Hostilities.
Well, the crazy is this. He's adding a boatload of mana, and he's got 2 Voyaging Satyrs. This might just be a lethal fireball.
Yep.
Yep. Crater's Claws upstairs. Each activation of Nykthos is 8. Yeah,
Yep.
That's going to do it.
Womp womp.
We've said multiple times while watching Berni play, you see Jessup's face. Well, X was 21 for that Crater's Claws.
And the 1 Hero's Downfall in there, I mean, is it possible that Danny can just stop in response to, say, the Voyaging Satyr activation, kill one of the large creatures?
That can happen.
And then that reduces at least it reduces the devotion count.
Maybe enough to get the job done. Now, we can't forget that there would have been 2 large creatures attacking still, too.
But he has a Courser and played a chump block.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's a way for Danny to get out of that turn. It looks like he just sort of kind of resigned himself to the fate at that point. I'd like to go back there and see. Maybe if his Courser is forced to jump block, there's another attacker Robert has access to that can push through lethal. But
there's a little unfamiliarity, too, of playing against this green red devotion deck. This deck isn't that popular yet. I think it's going to get popular after this tournament. Berni's starting off here 7-0. His potential to win this match, move on 8-0. Heck, if he wins the next round, he's a lone undefeated player.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of things that can go on here. Tana Grace just had a deck tech with the deck. He's having a good tournament so far as well. But in that instance, you know, maybe that's something where Danny's just like, I haven't really played against this deck. you've got your whole entire table on the board. You kept it with your scry. You have a card on top. You have a card in your hand. What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. And, you know, Danny only needs that one more turn. He gets to end hostilities. Robert's got nothing going on at that point.
Yep.
Dan's got a great hand to take over the game with. I don't know. Curious to go back there. Maybe Danny is supposed to err on the side of caution and just preemptively use a downfall on something to ensure that what just happened doesn't happen.
Game number 3 going to be underway here very quickly, so we will very quickly talk about Cardboard Crack. 4 books available at Star City Games.
Yeah, the first 3 books were so well received that we've come out with a 4th. They're all available on paperback, the very popular black and white Magic the Gathering themed comic strip. All these comic books are available right now, $12.99 a piece. You can head over to starcitygames.com/cardboardcrack to order your copy or copies today.
Wouldn't be surprised to see a fifth one, on the way. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No spoilers, just saying.
Well, you have access to more inside information than most. This is not pure speculation.
Do I?
Yeah, I would say so. Not when it comes to the Creature Collection series. You and I are both kept in the dark.
I want to be on the dark about that, though.
Just to be surprised?
Yeah, I don't want to know. I want to be able to give an honest reaction about what's coming.
Fair enough.
Again, we've been lobbying for hippos for some time. No idea if anyone even cares what we have to say.
Exactly.
But for when the day that hippos do come, I think a lot of excitement for everyone, assuming they will come.
You and I especially. Because we've been lobbying for the better part of a year now, I would say.
It's been a long battle over these hippos. And, you know, I can understand where they're coming from. They don't want to give us hippos because if they give us one thing, we're just going to ask for another.
Right.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah, caving to our demands is really risky.
Probably not a good idea. Because then who knows what we're going to ask for.
I know.
Next thing you know, we could be asking for, I don't know, trading cards of us.
Exactly.
That could happen.
I wanted a coffee pot to bring on the road. It was actually on my list of things when we were talking about the contract negotiation. I had a list of things I was going to ask for, and somehow I forgot.
A list of things or list of demands?
Some were demands and some were things.
Okay.
The coffee pot was going to be on the list of demands, and somehow it just slipped through the cracks at the last minute. Pete and Evan got off the hook easy, but next year is going to be a little bit tougher.
Oh, you got to get them.
Yeah.
Do you have a certain brand of coffee along with the pot that
Not
you would
particularly.
demand?
Don't really care.
Are you a Folgers guy?
No one is a Folgers guy.
So that sounds like a lost sponsor to me.
No one's a Folgers guy.
Okay, fair enough. One more down the hatch.
Mm-hmm.
Is Folgers not good? I'm not really a coffee guy.
It's one of those, it's like frozen and then reheated, some deal.
That doesn't sound very good, no. My parents drank Folgers when I was growing up.
Yeah, so did my dad.
Maybe there were no other options, though, during their time.
I don't know if that's true. I would be surprised.
I'll say they had compelling commercials. Maybe that's what sold the product. Nice little slogan and everything. It was really good. An Elvis Mystic here for Robert to start things off.
I mean, if you're going to go with compelling commercials, you have to go with Juan Valdez and his donkey. If you're going to pick your coffee based on that. The sun rising over, I don't know, what was it, Colombia? I don't remember the ad exactly. Just a noble man and his even more noble donkey going to work to provide you at home coffee in the morning. That's a commercial.
Here is a forest from Robert, and now another Elvis Mystic. The follow-up is Sylvan Caryatid and a passing of the turn here.
And it might look like Robert's playing into Bile Blight or Drown in Sorrow, and he kind of is, but the nature of these mana creatures, there's no other option. He can't leave them in his hand, so he's just got to hope to avoid the sweepers because an Elvis Mystic in your hand is not worth very much.
Just has to try to power past them and over them. I think that's really all that he can do. Here's 6 mana, perhaps a Genesis Hydra. Yep. This will be for 4. Ugh, the whammy. Crater's Claws, Genesis Hydra, 2 forests. Don't see that card miss a lot.
No. Not really. I mean, there's Eidolon, Courser, a lot of good hits at that point.
Yeah. Even another Manic Summon would probably be okay.
That's another problem with Green Devotion decks. This is supposed to be one of the payoff cards, but now an Abzan Charm, a Hero's Downfall handles this pretty easily. And Robert, very low on cards in hand, probably can't afford to get hit with the sweeper here. You see, and hostilities in Danny's hand. May not be able to beat this.
So this has always been the problem with the Green Devotion strategy is what do I do about end hostilities? There's not really a lot I can do. And taking a look at this game, for example, Danny hasn't cast a spell yet. I'm sure Robert knows he has end hostilities, and he's just like, well, not a lot I can do. Just I'm going to lose all my stuff soon.
Yep.
And even Whisperwood Elemental, which is your end hostilities protection, he can kill with Abzan Charm and then end hostilities next turn.
Exactly. That's the squeeze here, is that you had to assume that Danny has either Abzan Charm or Hero's Downfall. And so any of your big plays to either pressure Danny a lot this turn or to hedge against a sweeper the following turn probably don't work.
Here's an attack for 5. This is a Nissa. Now that's a way to hedge a little bit. There's a Planeswalker. Now it forces Jessup to have the combination of Hero's Downfall plus Sweeper.
Yeah.
So that's a good card in this situation.
And you see Robert there not even activating it to make a 4/4 this turn, because he's just positive he's getting hit with end hostilities next turn. No reason to have a forest swept up in it as well.
Now Jessup actually has to consider some things. This has really changed the dynamic of this game. He has an Abzan Charm in his hand that I imagine he was saving for something else. Now he might want to just draw 2 cards and pay 2 life. Get a little deeper into his deck to maybe find an answer to the Nissa, since he doesn't have one yet.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he can try to play this game in such a fashion where he end hostilities this turn. He buys a little bit of time with some removal spells. He gets to Garruk. Garruk can then take care of Nissa, and you can take the game over from there.
Let's not forget, too, that Nissa's ability of untapping lands doesn't come up a lot. We always think of that as just a card that makes a 4/4 attacker, but this mono green deck, this could certainly use it.
Yeah, I mean, this could be, with a 4th forest here, this could enable Ugin, for example.
Yeah. It's enabling Pelucranos right now. That means it can enable the monstrosity on Pelucranos as well. Liliana Vesta draw, that's interesting.
Not a card that I thought we were going to see out of Danny's sideboard. I think it's a borderline case.
The tutoring effect is pretty powerful just to ensure that you cast in hostilities, I think.
Sure.
Or in this instance, he might deploy it just to be able to find a Hero's Downfall. No guarantee of that, of course, but those are the options. Here's a Read the Bones. He's going to pay 2 life to find 2 cards. Scry first, of course.
5 mana for Vampira Tutor is a lot to pay.
Oh, yeah. Well, they ought to make them like they used to.
No, they don't.
Two cards coming. Is one of them Hero's Downfall? Nope. Murderous Cut and Thoughtseize. Those aren't too bad.
Nope. Especially with Urborg. And a fetch land, he can cast both this turn.
Yeah. Not a bad string of draws there for Jessup. Probably not how he would have drawn it up, but a little bit better than I thought it would be. Here's Thoughtseize. Genesis Hydra, Crater's Claws, Ugin. There's Windswept Heath, 3 cards in the graveyard, 2 mana available to play Murderous Cut, kick it back over. Nykthos the draw. Does give him the ability to play Ugin this turn. Deploy Nykthos, activate it.
Yep.
4 green.
Yeah, because the Nykthos plus his lands in play are 5. Untaps 3 forests, taps them, that gets him to 8.
Yep.
You and I both did the same thing when he drew a Nykthos of, all right, and carry the 1, and all right, it's still good.
However, no interest in Ugin. We're going to the attack zone. Didn't expect that. Murderous Cut. I'll take care of Pelucranos.
Well, I think that as much as he possibly can, Robert's trying to establish different angles of attack while still pressuring Danny. So he still has a Planeswalker in play. He still has a threat in play.
He's passing the turn back now. Jessup will take a draw. An Ugin of his own.
Messy.
It's a weird game. Both these players have the most strange hands I've seen in some time. Jessup has Liliana that he can't really afford to deploy because he would die. A Garrick, which he's a mana short on. An Abzan Charm, which is probably going to be used as a removal spell here.
We certainly can't draw cards.
Yep. In we go. There's the Charm. Wants to make sure he knows what this does. So that bites the dust. 4 damage comes across. Berni goes down to 3.
It's been a really well-played game here from Berni.
Yeah, I think so.
I thought that he was out of this one.
Caves the draw. That's land number 7. All right, Garrett can actually keep him in this because he can use it to kill the land.
Yep.
And gain life. All right, Apex Predator. So destroy target creature, you gain life equal to its toughness, is I think what we're going to see here from Danny. I'm sure he'd love to plus it and kill that Nissa, but he just can't do it.
But this is a spot where it's okay. Your Garrick it's fine here, but it's still not a long-term solution to this Nissa. And the Garrick now just gets mowed down.
Yep. But with the Garrick getting mowed down, that gives Danny more time.
Yeah, he gets a little bit of breathing space, but
Yeah.
the rest of his hand is a Liliana, which is very slow, and an Ugin, which does nothing against Nissa.
Yeah.
Or very little, at least. So this is a tough spot. Danny needs more help.
Now, one thing we never see from this is what I think Robert's reading right now, which is the ultimate. Search your library for any number of basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. These lands become 4/4 elemental creatures with trample. Any number of basic lands. He has 10 forest and 1 mountain.
It's lethal. He can go get a lethal army here. It's just if then he gets hit with end hostilities, that's it.
Yeah, that's lethal. Then
But if what he's worried about, are things like Ugin, Liliana, or other random pieces of spot removal, the ultimate should be good enough for a win. All that Garrick does is make a token next turn. There's no Planeswalker for it to kill.
yeah. He's just going to keep the elevator going up, though. Take care of this. Not willing to pull the trigger. Caryatid just passing the turn. A tough decision for sure, because next turn he can just do it.
Yep.
And keep his Nissa. Maybe that's the thought process. Windswept to eat the draw. That's another. That's land number 8 for Ugin.
But what's Ugin up to? You minus it?
You minus it. You kill.
For 5.
You kill Nissa. You kill Caryatid.
Yep. It's okay, but it's still not a solution to what's going on. And the Liliana, again, is going to be a turn slow.
Well, I think what makes this interesting is I think this is an exchange he's okay with, right? Because this turn we're going to go minus this, kill your Nissa, kill your Caryatid. I'm still at 7.
But he's got to also be able to beat the Crater's Clause that's in Robert's hand still.
Sure.
A lot's being asked right now of Danny. He's being taxed. And I think this is just lethal now.
Yeah, I was going to say he didn't have red mana, so Crater's Claws isn't really into the equation yet, but a Wooded Foothills is going to come off the top of the deck. Berni can't search up the mountain fast enough. We're going upstairs. We're going to get the job done. It's ferocious, too, because there's a 4/4 creature in play. And just like that,
Right.
Robert Berni is going to win this match here over Danny Jessup. Green-Red Devotion is 8-0. That was a heck of a third game.
And Danny's going to want to go back to the tape there because it felt like he just had everything necessary in games 2 and 3.
Yeah.